Hello everyone and welcome to this week's video on the Rest of Saga Classic Car Restoration YouTube channel. This week I thought I'd take a look at the interior of the 1976 Land Rover Series 3 88-inch diesel. This is a vehicle that's been in the fleet the longest. I restored this about 10 years ago. There's quite a few videos on the channel about it if you want to see more. This is more of a detailed look just of the interior. I've made videos in the past of the Morris Minor and the MG interiors. So this is just a look at the Land Rover interior. As I'm sure you know, Land Rovers are quite Spartan inside, fairly utilitarian farmer / military spec, and the Series 3 of all the series is probably the most luxurious as such. Child seat fitted. My son has grown very fond of the Land Rover in the last week or so, and now actually cries when he doesn't get to go ride in it, so that's always encouraging for the future. This is the utility model, so there's no seats in the back or windows, but I find it very useful because you don't need to worry too much about keeping upholstery clean or anything like that. So first of all, dashboard. Not a lot to it. Speedometer with odometer, and those are the original miles, 42,057. I've probably done about 4,000 miles since I restored it, when the restoration was completed about 8 years ago. Oil pressure, warning light here, high beam warning light, and cold start, so that comes on whenever you're on the glow plugs. Over here we have the auxiliary plugs. These are 12 volt, and you can run an inspection lamp from those, and there's a special plug will go between those two. Now that's an unfused circuit, which I've never used, but someday I might get the plug and maybe make myself an inspection lamp, but I think I would probably fit a fuse in there first. Left hand indicator lamp, right hand indicator lamp, low fuel warning light here, and here they have the auxiliary gauges. So you have a temperature gauge for the water, a fuel gauge for the diesel, and something down here that you probably don't see all that often. That's a voltmeter. Normally there's a charge light, which is just an on-off, which just comes on when there's low charge, but I have fitted a voltmeter, which I believe was an optional extra overseas and wasn't actually an option in the UK, but I think it's pretty cool. It works really well and lets you see what voltage is being produced and what's being drained by the various instruments, and I think it's actually quite accurate because I have checked it with my multimeter. Over there in here, the switches. So these are panel lights. Now I have a 2-position switch fitted here, and explain why. First position is your panel lights, and second position I have a work lamp fitted at the back, so that's my switch for that, rather than having to drill an extra hole. Over here then you have your side lights and headlights, wipers, and this is actually a 2-position one, but I have only 1-speed wipers, so the second position is sort of redundant. And here, 2-speed fan fitted. I have fitted these 3 switches here as new ones because the contacts are quite worn in the old ones, and I just fitted new ones because they work better. Yes, they shouldn't have the pointy end in the switch, but I'm not that particularly as long as it works. Over here you have the heater controls, hot versus cold, and defrosting versus heat going to the car. As I'm sure you all know, Land Rover heaters are not exactly renowned for being the best, but what can you do? Final dash, this is the original, which is actually really good condition. There's maybe a few wee marks on it, but not bad. 2 heater ducts for the fairly non-existent defrosting function. Heat comes up here, and there's another one in behind the instrument panel. These are your vents, which let fresh air in, and I still have the fly screens in so you don't get a mouthful of flies both sides. This is the plumbing going through the wipers, which are the squirters, which I've never actually managed to get tucked up in under there. Behind there hides the wiper motor, and that is a hot air output duct, and the other one is over there. So down here, sorry, I had some ladders returned there recently, so that's why the straps are down, and that's hence the photo at the start of the video. This is a hand throttle. It's not actually connected at the minute because I had to disconnect it to put my soundproofing in, which I'll talk about in a minute. But it's a hand throttle, mostly used for agriculture, but some people have said it's a modern or classic car cruise control, but I've never been brave enough to use it as such. Gear stick, 4-speed plus reverse. This one actually broke off at the bottom and has been re-welded before I owned it, but I gather that's not all that uncommon. 4-wheel drive, control here, high-low range here. Yes, this is a bit of a mess. As I'm sure you've been noticing in the last while, I've been fighting with the quality of modern rubbers. Fairly unimpressed overall by them. So while I'm waiting for a new rubber boot of decent quality to arrive, I've been driving without it covered. But it's fine. You get a bit of a drafty left leg and a bit wet, but that's okay. And here I have my Ferry overdrive. I rebuilt this myself before, well, not really before YouTube, but before I really started trying to grow the channel. Rebuilt it in the garage, bought it for an absolute bargain from a man in Dublin. I think I bought it for £100 and it took about £100 worth of spare parts, bearings and so on, and it runs really, really nicely. It doesn't make any noise, never pops out of gear, no problem selection, gears, it's a dream. So don't listen to everything you hear about Ferry overdrives. 3 pedals, clutch, brake, accelerator, standard handbrake. I have the silver knob on the top. I do have the original here. I just fancied upgrading it a wee bit. It does rattle a bit though at idle, which is annoying. The VIN plate is was here on the bulkhead, but I've moved it to the top of the radiator panel. Overdrive sticker, another fairly original sticker there about making sure you pull the engine stop out before you turn it off, because you have in the diesel models you fuel cut off and then you turn the ignition off. It's important, otherwise you'll fry the alternator. What else have we in here? Yes, my snazzy interior and seats. Obviously shouldn't be a cubby box here, there should be a seat, and I will be putting a seat back in when funds allow, but I have a cubby box with some bits and bobs in there. Excuse the mess, it really could do with a bit of a cleaning here. And these nice seats. So the scob is black, but the centre panel is cream with cream piping, which I think matches the interior of the roof quite nicely, and a lot of people have given me compliments about those at the classic car shows, any of the ones I attend. I got those from Sam's Trim, who seem to have disappeared and then reappeared and are generally quite difficult to find. So that's where those came from. Got the seat bases powder coated at the time of restoration, but these really could do with being cleaned up. The seat sliders don't slide, but they're actually in the right position for me, so it doesn't really matter too much because I have very few passengers. And last but not least, my rubber mat. This rubber mat came from Right Off Road, and I couldn't fault them for their customer service. Usually these are grey, but I got a black one to match the vehicle, and I think it fits in well with the black of the vinyl interior. Really, this is a 2 1/4 diesel, as I'm sure you all know. And between the rubber matting and the overdrive, you can hold a conversation in this vehicle at between 50 and 60 miles an hour. Yes, you have to talk a bit louder than you normally would, but it is doable. So I know the 2 1/4 diesels get a lot of bad press, but I'm a big fan. It does everything I need it to. It's a wee bit asthmatic at the minute because I think it probably needs a head gasket. But big fan of the 2 1/4 diesel. It just does what it does. Doesn't need a lot of looking after, and it has performed faultlessly and never broken down. So there you go. Quick look at the interior of the 1976 Land Rover Series 3 88-inch diesel. Thanks very much for taking the time to watch the video. I always appreciate your comments, likes and subscriptions. Please hit the subscribe button if you've watched this far into the video. I'm pretty sure you're dedicated, so make sure you've subscribed. I make videos every week and would appreciate your ongoing support for the channel. As always, thanks for watching. See you next week. Goodbye.